Marlow Shami, BFA, MS, is a nature-based teacher, artist, healer, and writer who conducts nature-based healing workshops and talks throughout New England since 1999. She specializes in the healing connection between humans and the natural world. Her Master's of Science is in the field of integrated ecology, applied ecopsychology. The knowledge and experience of this field of study inform Marlow's work as an artist and her nature-based workshops. Welcome, Marlow. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Katie. It's good to be here. And thank you all for taking time out on a rare sunny day. I'm up in the northwest corner in Goshen, a beautiful rural area, and the clouds been coming and going, but it's quite lovely. So I think too that maybe with the Q&A, if the group remains small, we can have people unmute and mute themselves. Make it easier for you, Katie, and thank you for co-hosting this. I appreciate it. So we're going to be going on a virtual community journey for the next hour and a half. The first half hour or so, I'm going to present a keynote or a slideshow, getting into the details of what exactly do I mean by the nature of mindful eating and living. Then we'll do the activity. All of you should have gotten a one-sheet direction to grab yourself a bit of nature. After the activity, you'll have an opportunity to share, and then move into the conclusion, which is a guided meditation I've written specifically for this workshop. So I'm going to zip right into the keynote. And by the way, I see a lot of black squares here. I know some people might be in their jammies still, or perhaps you're just, reclined because you need to be reclined. But if you can turn your camera on, it makes it so much easier for the presenter. And thank you for those who are already sparkling in my monitor. I appreciate it. Thank you. So here we go. Let's take a look at the nature of mindful eating and living. Most people who attend this workshop are really focused on the eating piece of this, eating food and drinking. And I'll be delving into other areas of our lives that are just as important in sustaining us. So when we do think about mindful eating, it's not just about counting calories or drinking a certain number of glasses of water a day or special eating programs. Although these are all useful tools, especially if you want to gain or lose weight or maintain weight or become more healthy. But the kind of mindful eating and living I'm talking about in this program is really an inside job. It's an inside job in that it requires that we really delve into our unique nature and character and get to understand it a little bit more. So are you quick to anger, get anxious, depressed, joyful? What are the kinds of situations or people that might press your buttons? All of these details that make up each of us, and there are unique character, are important to pay attention to. And we'll learn more about that as I present, as we actually get into the experiential end of the workshop. That's really the activity that we're going to do in nature, as well as the guided meditation, I think will really be helpful in integrating the concepts I'll bring up in this keynote. So deepening our understanding of our unique nature. As you become more mindful of this unique nature, you gain power to choose and so much more. And I say, when I hear those words, I want a roadmap. I want to find out exactly how I'm going to get there. And we all do have a roadmap. It's located. Well, I think you'll know. What does your roadmap look like? I have a few of these in my car still. Where is that compass? Where is that inner direction? Where is it located? Well, each of us is born with an inner GPS. And it's designed to help guide us and navigate the terrain of our lives, which is varied and certainly unpredictable. It's a biological GPS, and it does come fully installed at birth. It has a lifetime guarantee, although I'm sure we all can agree that sometimes we feel like we've lost touch with that inner GPS. And how does that happen? How do we lose that gut instinct that really had directed us early on in life? Or we get back to it and then we wander away. Well, you know, most of us here have lived quite a few decades. And as we live, we accumulate experiences and we make decisions about who we are and what the world is all about. And we design strategies to cope with various stressors. We make decisions and are told things about ourselves and about the world that might not even or have ever been true. Other strategies might have served us at a certain time and no longer do. And the powerful thing about developing a practice of mindfulness is it allows us breathing space so that we don't have to immediately react to a situation, a habitual reaction. Let me come on camera because I'd like to give you an example. So I'm sure we've all been in a situation either at work or at home where there's always that person that kind of likes to rile people up and one way or another. And instead of getting caught up into that riling Uncle Bob or coworker Susan, being mindful would simply be to say, here it comes again. And then making space, literal psychic space, because typically if we don't feel able to do anything, I don't know about you, but I kind of feel a squeeze, a clenching in my throat if it's something I want to say, or a little tightness in my belly, but there's an energetic that goes on. And when you're mindful, what you can do is simply use a cue. And I'll have some suggestions in a moment, but it could be as simple as taking a breath or feeling your feet on the floor and go, there goes Uncle Jim again, or there goes Susan again. I could get angry and walk out. I could engage her or him with some flaming language, or I could maybe email and say, hey, can we have tea? I want to talk. Or I could not do anything about it because it really doesn't matter to me. And I've made this space. So that tension I described earlier kind of melts. And it's not a one-shot deal. It's an ongoing, it's a practice. So when we begin to notice those button pressers or those situations or any event or person that creates a sense, or the dynamic creates a sense of squeeze, if you can just take that moment to cue yourself into your body, take a breath and give yourself breathing space, that's empowering. Even if you choose to do nothing, the point is you chose, you responded, you didn't react. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and we'll move on from there. So yes, our body is indeed our compass. Believe it or not, our body feels something before our mind can register it. And that's why I encourage people to really practice mindfulness and using their body to become present in the moment, here, now. Because the body has a lot to tell us and a lot of intelligence to share, wisdom. So these are some suggestions, and you're all very creative people. You can come up with your own cues, but being mindful is as simple as asking yourself a few questions, or simply feel yourself breathing. If you have asthma or have difficulty breathing, feel yourself standing. Use sound to ground. But I have some questions here that have been helpful for me. What's going on here now? Are there sensations within my body? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What is life presenting to me? So when we develop this ability to ask the questions and take the time to listen, we grow our ability not to react with those obsessive thoughts and habitual behaviors that happen. You know, it's conditioning. We've been conditioned, decades and decades of conditioning. And it's so powerful to get back into your body and take the time to listen. I really want to stress that because I think I have really expected things to appear very quickly when I have a wisdom question, really. What is upsetting me? And I want to really understand what's going on beneath the immediate reaction. It takes time. I'll give you a quick example. There was a woman in a workshop doing an activity similar to the one we'll be doing today. And she picked up a heart-shaped leaf. And this was when I was doing in-person workshops, and I went up to her and she was crying. I was very concerned. She said, "Oh, no, these are tears of joy." But she took time with a leaf to start to ask her question and to just sort of listen to its shape. But the heart reminded her of love. And her issue was her mother-in-law saying untrue things about her. And unfortunately, her mother-in-law was in India and she was in America. And it was something she couldn't deal with. But the heart helped her listen. And the more she listened, she basically concluded, I need to forgive myself for having felt all this stress and energy because it hasn't helped me, my children, and I've had to hide this information from my husband, and I need to forgive her. And the situation hadn't changed, but she shifted in a very dramatic way simply by spending 20 minutes at that workshop, pondering the heart and her particular issue she was seeking counsel from. So be patient with yourself in the process of asking questions, wisdom questions. So I've spent the better half of my life really looking into the conditions that support resilience. And I concluded that there are 5. And of course, food is a very important one, and drink. But there are 4 others that we're going to touch on briefly that are just as important, and they feed our body, mind, and soul. And if we're all fortunate enough to have a roof over our head, the resources to feed and get medical care, to feed ourselves, our family, and to feel safe, it's easier to address these 5 areas. But there are areas that everybody around the globe needs to address one way or another, if at all possible. And the first is food. You know, we can live for weeks without food, but we really need to have fluids, water in particular, within a few days. We have no place to store the water. water, if our water hydration drops 3 to 4%, the brain fluid imbalance almost immediately impacts our brain's function, and we experience things like mood swings and headaches, and it's just very unhealthy. And if you think about 3 or 4% not being very much, it isn't. But research has shown us that an average day with just moderate exercise will drop the level 3 or 4% if we aren't hydrating regularly. And for those of us who are in the elder or going up into this aging category, I'm included, for reasons we are yet to learn, the mechanism that tells us we're thirsty, so we grab some water, diminishes. So our elderly population is more vulnerable to dehydration, and it's been linked to cognitive decline as well as neurological issues such as Alzheimer's. So what I do, and this is a real easy fix, I have this pasta jar. It holds 32 ounces, and I make sure I drink 3 of them a day, usually water. I'm also a real fan of herbal infusions, but any kind of liquid outside of caffeinated or high salt will do. And as far as food goes, I became a vegan a number of years ago, and immediately, as soon as I had eliminated the meat, I was exhausted. I work out regularly, and I did some research, and clearly I wasn't getting enough protein. But the point I want to make about protein in particular is that the American Diabetes Association recommends 90 to 110 grams of protein a day. And it was interesting to learn how I could do that. And it's easy to do once you learn how much protein is in each, protein source you're eating. But once again, as we age, we produce less hydrochloric acid as well as digestive enzymes. So we need more protein. And that was interesting. You'd think we'd need less, right? So keep in mind hydration and make sure you're getting in enough protein. Rest. We all need rest. All plants, all animals get their version of rest in. And as far as we go, us human beings, when we sleep, that's when the body takes care of its cleaning. So our brain needs time, rest time, to essentially clean out the refuse, consolidate the information you've taken in so that you can learn. And the body too, it needs time to clean up. So I really recommend that if you like having a large meal, have it midday, and to not have your supper beyond 7. Be done with supper at 7 if you do eat supper. And if you're really hungry before you go to bed after 7, maybe a slice of apple. It's easy to digest, but give your body a break so it can clean. What happens is if you eat a large meal, you're going to most likely wake up groggy, possibly have stiff joints. And the body and mind really needs that time. Doesn't want to spend time digesting. It wants to spend time cleaning. A number of years ago, a study came out that found that 1 in every 2 Americans is lonely. And loneliness produces some pretty intense stress hormones. Thousands of years ago, when we were running from predators and just trying to survive, loneliness evolved as, I think, a function of adaptation. So it drove us together. We were more likely to be successful in hunt and also to escape predators or fight off predators. As soon as the predator was either taken care of or we were safe in the cave, that adrenaline, that cortisol, those done. Your body stopped producing it. But as humans in in this day and age, when we're lonely, we're continually cranking these stress hormones out, and the medical community connects them to so many diseases or health issues that plague our culture, high blood pressure, heart attacks, depression, not depression, cancer.
About
Yeah, I hear
mindful
somebody.
eating.
Somebody's got their mic on. Anyway, back to the, yes. So what I encourage you to do is to cultivate any relationships that you do have. Make sure you have at least one person that cares for you, good, bad, and ugly, because social time and being able to spend time with somebody, it might be on Zoom, it might be in a safe place you both feel comfortable with. You know, it's always shifting in these days of the pandemic, and it's the various forms it's taking. But it is important to do that, to take care of loneliness and develop relationships. Novelty. We all need our routines, right? But it's always a very potent medicine to break out of the routines and do something different. And it could be as simple as a walk down a new trail. It could be getting in touch with somebody that we haven't talked with in a while. It could be one of the really wonderful aspects of this horrible time the last 2 years is the development of Zoom and other virtual connection technologies. You can take all sorts of courses, learn a new skill, poetry, painting, a new language. So find novelty in your life. Don't just wait for summer or winter vacation or holidays. A couple of times a week, it's great to break out of the patterns and do something new. And lastly, nature. I have a whole program about nature as healer. There is a robust body of empirical research that talks about nature as a true medicine. We always feel far more refreshed. And certainly we know many of our philosophers and spiritual healers and so many people have always gone out into the wilderness or on a walk outside and found solace as well as wisdom in the practice. So those are the 5 areas. And think about just at this moment, which one do you resonate with most profoundly, because that is the area you're going to work on with the activity. So just keep that in mind. I couldn't leave this segment without talking about the consumer culture we live in that would really like us all to need the same things in order to feel beautiful, healthy, successful, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mindfulness helps us avoid substitutes when we're in touch with what we truly need to feel alive and vibrant and resilient. We don't get hook, line, and sinkered into these substitutes. So for instance, streaming movies rather than engaging in relationships, that would be a substitute. One that happens often just because of the lack of really being in our body. We sometimes mistake hunger when we're actually thirsty. So, and I think medication and what we've done, the pharmaceuticals have done over the years has been miraculous. And antibiotics they've actually saved my life twice now. But we've seen what happened with OxyContin, and sometimes medication for depression and anxiety might not be the thing we need. It really is a tender, sensitive subject we need to really process with our friends or a therapist before we make that decision, because there are powers that be that would love for us to make a certain decision, and it might not be the best for us. So what happens when we use substitutes habitually without thinking? None of them is a bad thing in and of itself. We start basically cocooning. There's almost a numbing that goes on. So it's less difficult to get in touch with that inner compass I was talking about, our inner GPS. So when we know we're habitually, when we become mindful and see, oh yeah, I always grab. For me, it was a pint of ice cream, 50 pounds earlier. I was a lot heavier the first half of my life. And I realized that I was self-medicating with food. And after I lost all the weight, I still didn't feel right. And I realized, well, there's something else going on. Here I am. I did the work I needed to do in the inner searching and found the support I needed to understand what was going on. So keep your finger on the pulse. We're changing all the time. There's nothing static in our lives or in nature. Look outside right now. It's always changing. So I eat differently than I did when I was 20, 40, and now I'm in my 60s. I need different lengths of rest. I nap. I never napped before. Social time spent differently. The things I like to do for novelty. You won't catch me on the roller coaster nowadays, but I used to love doing that stuff. So really stay in touch with how you're changing, because each of us is. And knowing those changes is a very wise thing, and it'll help us support resilience in our daily life and also help us grow our mindfulness practice, our ability to be here and now. I love this quote. I'll end with it. It's been attributed to Einstein, but he just had it tacked on his door down in Princeton. Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. When you're practicing mindfulness in your daily life, you'll know what counts and what does not count, and that is empowering. So I'm going to stop the share and we're going to move into, I see there are a couple of chats. Let's see here. Hi. So everyone, did you get your bit of nature for the activity? Okay. What I'd like you to do is just take 5 minutes, stretch, get your bit of nature, a piece of paper, pen or pencil, and come back. What time is it now? We'll coordinate. So it's 2:32. Come on back at 2:35, 5:36. Okay. All right. See you in a little bit. Oh. Okay, yeah, there we go. Mhm. I see Taya. Oh my gosh. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I saw your name and I said, I have to be a part of that presentation.
Well, it's good to see you.
It's so nice to see you too.
We're going to have to connect via Facebook
Absolutely.
and catch up a bit. You're a mom now.
I know. Yes, I am. 2 little boys.
Oh, wow. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. So gang, are we back? I know there are a lot of no faces. I've got a lot of black squares here. Do you, what I'm going to do is bring up a slide that has directions for this activity, but we live in a head dominant culture. Let's face it. Most of us are pretty much up here. I certainly am a lot of time. I've worked with it for 30 years now, and it's still kind of difficult to get back into the body at times. But this exercise, this activity is a wonderful way to help us do that, because once we are rooted in our, I call them sensory anchors, we can be nowhere but here and now. So take your little bit of nature, and if it's actually an iPhone or a photo because you couldn't bring the tree or the river or the rock home, that's okay. Use your imagination. But I want you to really get in touch with the weight, the texture, the color. Well, let me bring up a slide that'll be addressing how we're going to go tackle this. Here we go. Boom. At the top of your paper, write down the category that you want to focus on in the activity. Is it going to be about the food that you eat, the rest, relationship, nature, or novelty? Just pick one of the 5. And once you do, write it at the top. And what we're going to do now is, just take 5 minutes to experience all the details of this little bit of nature. The texture, the color. Does the connection spark a memory? Music, a scent. Remember, one person started to just sort of have a memory and smell rose. A poem or a body movement. Really, the sky's the limit. Human beings are incredibly creative. Each one of you is. You don't have to be an artist to be creative. Living a life with resilience requires that creativity. So you're all engaged in it. And I will be quiet in a minute. Go spend those 5 minutes. And when you're done, we'll get to step 4, which is noticing 2 or more inspiring or positive qualities that you found. But right now, forget step 4. I'm going to time it. Let's spend 5 minutes fully experiencing this little bit of nature that you're going to focus on. I'll let you know when the 5 minutes is up. Okay, you've got about a minute. We'll come back. Okay. So now just think about one or two qualities that you were particularly attracted to that were positive. I'll bring that slide up again. And focus on how the quality might help you work with the area that you chose, be it food, rest, novelty, nature, or relationship. So just think about the qualities. It could be more than one or two, but choose the ones you felt were most impressive. And how might these qualities help you work with that particular area, life-sustaining area you chose to focus on this afternoon? Just take a few more minutes with this. It's easier for you to just journal. Some people have actually written short poems. It really doesn't matter. But if it's easiest to just focus on those qualities and write about how they might help you deal with the life area, life sustaining area, focus that way. But people have really addressed this last step in a variety of ways. There's no wrong way. That's what I'm saying. No wrong way. And remember to just take a few moments to really listen. Sometimes you'll be informed as soon as you stop. Our minds are designed to be thinking all the time. And if that chatter can go on the back burner so you have some space to allow things to actually float up, you might be surprised what might float up. Okay, so take a minute to finish up and we'll move into the possibility of sharing a little bit. Meaning it's not required. Okay. So I'm curious, do any of you have something that you would like to share about your experience in this activity? And just on mic, we're thinking about having breakout groups, but I think this is a small enough group. Go right ahead, Edie.
Yes, not sure if I'm getting it, but I have in my hand an oyster shell. So I picked nature, and feeling it and looking at it more closely. It's hard, bumpy, difficult to break with your hands, and it has many curves in it. So I'm comparing that to my life. Which is hard at many times, have a lot of bumps in the road, and a lot of curves that you have to handle. I don't know, is that what the sense that you're talking about? Or
Absolutely. In fact, I should say, Edie, that all the qualities that we recognize, whether they're, no matter what they are, they're qualities we hold within ourselves. We wouldn't recognize them. We wouldn't see them if we didn't have that already. So you have that toughness and the ability to, negotiate those incredible life. The terrain of one's life is really unpredictable. But yes, what you just shared is very rich.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. And please share more if you want later on. Thank you. Who else? Anybody have something to share?
Hi, I'm Barbara. I can't get my camera to work, so can I share something with you?
You sure can, Barbara.
Okay, I wrote about the ginkgo leaf. When I was in first grade, I used to walk to school, and I discovered this leaf on a lady's lawn, and I was fascinated. I don't know if anybody knows what they are, but it's a beautiful leaf and has wonderful veining. And I used to pick up the leaves just to play with the veining. The tree was thought to be extinct, and they found it in the 1940s in China. So when they started growing them in the United States, there aren't any that are older than me. So I wrote about that. And my qualities was that it was the excitement of discovery. It was a very happy memory of mine in an unhappy childhood. And I've used the leaf many times in artwork and sewing, using the different shapes to stencil paper and note cards, etc. So that was interesting to me when I thought about it, especially when I thought about the excitement of discovery. I just thought that was kind of meaningful. I hadn't ever thought about it like that before.
That's really beautiful because it's sometimes we get dulled by life, and to be able to tap into that natural spark of it's a creative act. And I have to point out that ginkgo is a medicinal plant now too.
Yes.
Yeah. And has provided a lot of support for people who wanted to wake up their minds and their circulatory systems and, just charge up. So that's wonderful that you found that memory and the chemistry that, an experience we might have had when we were 5 or 10 or 9 or 15. We can reignite our bodies with the same chemistry through the memory if it's a strong enough connection. So Barbara, it sounds like you've got a wonderful memory that can help you light up your life and your interest in creativity in the here and now.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yes, hi.
Mine might be simple compared to these ladies with lots of insight, but I picked, I have some seashells that I collected in Florida on the beach. And I mean, they're the ripples, the softness, the smoothness from years of obviously being in the water. But what it makes me feel is just warm, and just the memories of being grounded on the beach. It's like my favorite place in the world to be. And the thing that makes me emotional about it is the thought that the ocean is never ending. We are mortal, but it goes on and on and on. And it just kind of is overwhelming, but also beautiful and peaceful and comforting at the same time, because I feel the sun and just the happiness that I feel when I'm there. So it's just kind of it's an emotional thing for me, but it was great.
Emotions are such powerful experiences. We have emotions in order to inform us. So your tears sound like tears of sadness and joy.
Yeah, actually fine, exactly, because it's so much joy in the here and now, but also, yeah, it just makes you realize it's not forever. Our lives here aren't forever, but we best embrace them. And that's why I wrote novelty as opposed to nature, because I'm thinking branch out, try something new, but also this is one thing that brings me comfort. So it's kind of a combination.
Wonderful. Combination is fine. As I said, there's no wrong way to do this.
Yeah.
And being the creative beings we are, you're going to find ways to work with it that you resonate with right now. So yeah, absolutely. Experiment with new attractions that you might want to involve yourself in. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Alfred, did you raise your hand?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. I was introduced to the outdoors and to nature through the Boy Scouts of America. And I have fond memories of our hiking and camping in the woods. And I feel so fortunate that I took that interest up to my favorite playground, the White Mountains of northern New Hampshire, where I go every year for many years. And being in the forest, I have found that I have so much more acceptance of the marriage between life and death. All around me in the forest, there are as many dead trees as there are live trees. And I find it medicinal when I see the small animals making condominiums of the dead trees.
Yeah.
So that's nature, but an activity related to that is my passion for hiking. And some of the hardest jobs that I've had, that I've given myself, were hiking to the summits of the White Mountains. And I can recall right now how I was complaining during the climb, and I would sometimes swear. But when I got to the summit, I felt so good. I can't do this anymore. I'm in my 80s, but I have such fond recollections. I still go back to the White Mountains with a group of people. There are maybe a little over 100 of us. And although I don't do the mountains anymore, I'm very much at home hiking in the valleys. So I don't know, maybe I've gone too far, but.
Well, no, Alfred, no, it's beautiful. It's your connection with the natural world is beautiful. I'm so happy that you started as a scout. The Scouts and the YM and YW, Girl Scouts are all it's so important. I'm just curious, did you pick a particular category for the activity?
Well, I chose nature, and then I added novelty to it because the novelty would be the hiking. And the nature is my favorite playground, the woods.
Well, I'm glad to hear too that you're still getting up there. And as I said earlier on, we have to modify, right? As we sage, there's certain things, I look at people at the Y lifting up weights I used to lift 15 years ago that I'm not doing anymore. But, we do what we can do to keep this wonderful house of bones going as long as it can go, but being aware, right? Life is finite, and we just get the best we can. And depending upon our spiritual perspective, some of us believe in reincarnation, others will look at the trees and go, oh yeah, that dead tree is actually feeding other trees and other animals. There's this whole recycle going on. So it's a very philosophical thing, especially when we get into our 70s, 80s, 90s. But I applaud your tenacity and finding ways to be in the places that you love so much in the natural world. That's just beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. Who else? Oh, hey, Helen.
Yes. When you have this subject come to my mind, I collect so many different things. Most of them are from nature. I collect seashells from the beach. I collect the glasses I find on the beach. And one thing I collect a lot is crystal. Another thing I realized, knowingly I collect feathers, birds' feathers.
They're beautiful.
The story about the bird's feathers, even the peacock, and are the things that I was told that when you find a feather, is someone up in the sky, in the heaven, is trying to send you a message. And to me, that's a big comfort. Sometimes I feel so down. The first thing come to my mind is my mother.
Yeah.
Even, as she is the most comforting person in my life. Every time I'm worried, I feel frustrated. I feel like unknowingly, I will find a piece of feather right near the house or my path. And that gave me a tremendous comfort by knowing that she's up there still watching me. When I feel so scared, and I just feel the energy from her. That's also happened to the crystal. Crystal happened to be in Asian. It's supposed to be, very strong rock. And here's the granite, right in the Brantford area, which is the famous Stony Creek. So all these things, somehow all these are associated with the nature, and that's really make me happy. And also help me to ease my worry, especially in the beginning of the pandemic. I was really concerned, and that really comforted me.
Thank you, Helen. I can truly appreciate how certain parts of the natural world really enliven your connection with your mother and other people, and could be animals too, or trees, but that you love, because it is real. and that connection is real. Your mother is right here in you, and somewhere out there too. It depends on your belief system. So I'm so glad you find solace and resilience through these relationships. Thank you. Anyone else have something to share before we move on?
I chose a sprig of evergreen. And when I look at the color right now, it's a bright green, it's very calming. And when I touch it, it's soft in one direction, yet spiky or scratchy in another. And I feel like that can sometimes describe our feelings or our personalities, how they change. Since this is just a piece of a large body, I feel like those trees are old. And when I think of evergreen trees, I think of wisdom, I think of experience and strength. And it does bring back happy memories of being together with family and Christmas time and those memories together with loved ones. So when I started this activity, I had chosen rest, and I found it challenging to see that in the object that I chose. I find peace and a calmness to evergreen, but I'm having a difficult time seeing the connection with rest, what I had originally chosen. And I feel that I'm connected with nature, I'm connected by the relationship aspect, but having difficulty seeing the rest connection.
I appreciate that. And one of the things that goes on with this sort of activity, when we use our intention and attention, sometimes the answer or something that addresses the specifics of your question might not occur for a while. I don't know if you're somebody who dreams, something might come up in a dream tomorrow, the next day, some song might come up on the radio when you're driving to work, and it's like, oh my God, that's it. You never know. So stay open, alert. It often comes through a metaphor, but just be patient with it. And I suspect in time, you will make that connection. Whereas there's that sense of peace, but where is that real rest? You're talking physical rest. How will I get guidance in that area? Keep your senses out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taya. Okay. Anyone else? I know some people are really shy and need to be prompted, so I'm just going to nudge for a few more seconds before we move on. There are a few more people. I'm not seeing anybody pop up, so let us move on. And there'll be time when we conclude for any more comments or questions. What we're going to move into now is a guided meditation. And it's titled Resilience and Deep Listening, because I've sort of emphasized this through the workshop, being able to really be present, awake, and to listen. Something that our very hyper connected, multitasking culture seemingly does not value, and certainly doesn't teach. We have to seek out how to make contemplative, receptive space. And I applaud all of you for coming to this workshop, because that's a piece of it I'd love for you to take home with you, the importance of that quiet time and that ability to set aside the busy mind for a little bit to just be more receptive to how our connections with the natural world can inform us. I always say this, and I don't think I've said it in this workshop, but we are a part of nature. We aren't apart from it. But because we're so invested in our minds and all the incredible things they can help us create and do and be, we forget about that connection. And the reason I'm pointing this out now, if you look out at the natural world after a tsunami, after a forest fire, after any natural disaster, nature immediately, within days, starts pulling itself together. It might be different, but it's healing itself. That's it's balance making, homeostasis. we can do the same thing. We are always doing the same thing. But when we intentionally connect with the natural world, knowing we're a part of it and a valued part of it and a unique aspect of it, and make that open contemplative space, what comes to us can inform us and guide us. It might simply be a sense of peace, or it could be the answer to the question that you've been asking for days or years. But that's what nature does. It pulls things back together, it heals. And when we remember and intentionally connect with it through our senses, it is our sensory anchors that allow us to connect and be a part of it and then transcend the paradox. So make time for that. Now, we're going to move into a guided meditation. It's 11 minutes long. I'll have a picture that I put up. I love this picture. It's just a picture of the sky. So you should shut your eyes if you feel comfortable. And we'll go through the guided meditation. For those of you who haven't done one, you'll just hear my voice. You'll hear some music, quiet music in the background, just sounds really that are soothing. And there'll be moments, 10 seconds here, 15 seconds there, that are just the sound of the music. Those places where you are not hearing my words are places for your own inner nature or your psyche to possibly have something to say. Or you might just end up hearing yourself snore, which is okay too. You need to sleep. I'm never insulted if someone falls asleep. So that's what we're going to do. Make yourself comfortable, and I'm going to share again so I can get this guided meditation going for us. Okay. Is that loud enough? Yeah. Resilience and deep listening meditation. Make yourself comfortable, either sitting or lying down. Uncross your arms and legs if possible, and close your eyes. This is your time to engage in meditative attention. Ordinary attention is based on our hopes and fears, likes and dislikes. We pick and choose what we want to be attentive to, based on our hopes to avoid the unpleasant and satisfy our desires. Meditative attentiveness is open-hearted. We practice not only because of how we might benefit from attentiveness, but also because we value a life of awareness. We recognize that the quality of attention paid to our lives is what matters most. Pay attention to your breathing now. Just observe. No need to change how you breathe. Just notice. Your breathing is like the waves of a quiet ocean caressing the sparkling beach. Each wave, each breath, your natural rhythm of breathing lulls you into deep peace. This is your time to engage in meditative attention. Allow any thoughts to calm and fade into the background. Notice how your breath anchors your consciousness into this very moment, here, now, Just voice, body, breath, this moment. Recall a challenge you are facing now, a situation you have no control over. Soften any expectations of outcome or judgments you might have about this situation. Just be with the challenge, deepening your presence with each breath. Notice how your breathing helps to bring you back to the center whenever your attention wanders. Using your power to choose can feel good. Using your presence to create breathing space between you and a challenge is powerful. Recognizing and caring for your challenge nurtures resilience. Listen deeply, trusting your natural intelligence to guide helps you adapt in new and surprising ways. Acknowledging your difficulties with a soft heart is an act of kindness. Each time you choose to lean into a challenge without judgment or expectation, your practice develops. You become more skillful and fulfilled. The pain, suffering, and disappointments of adversity that come into your life have the potential to guide you. Challenges as well as joys provide direction. Our compass, our inner compass, is held within all we observe within our quiet, breathing space. This is where our healer resides. You make a powerful choice each time you acknowledge the visitation of the uncontrollable with your steady, attentive, open-hearted attention. Listening deeply with care attracts new possibility and healing. Your ability grows each time you create breathing room, a safe space of receptivity. It is here you open your heart and mind to new healing possibilities. You cultivate resilience by riding the changing and shifting waves of life with patience and compassion. It's here you rest in your innate wisdom. This still place, this still point holds your true nature. Just like our beautiful, generous earth home, your inner landscape will sustain and guide you with dynamic balance and resilience. Continue following your breath. Now, recall the challenge you faced today. How does it impact you now? Breathe. Make space. Warm yourself with the kindness of the generosity to choose. Breathing space. Each time you choose to embrace a challenge without judgment or expectation, your practice develops, your presence deepens, your breathing space expands. You become more skillful and fulfilled. It is here, in your heart, that resilience is found. On the count of 10, you may open your eyes when you're ready. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stretch your arms, gently rock your head side to side. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So, we've come to the end of our journey this afternoon, and I just wanted to thank you for your attention and your courageous hearts. This kind of workshop requires a certain type of attention that is not often found in our culture. So I'm always so pleased to see you all, your names and your faces. And I wanted to invite you to, I'm going to put up a slide, but actually before I do that, I must ask you, does anyone have any comments or questions regarding anything that we've experienced today or the guided meditation itself? Certainly want to hear from you if you do. Okay. So
It's Barbara again. I enjoyed listening to the others talk about their bits of nature and the hiking and the shells and meaning of, the different shapes of shells and stuff. I really thought that was very, very interesting. And I thank the co-attendees for that information.
Barbara, I'm glad you mentioned that. And I always, it's a wonderful thing when we come together. There's a synergy that goes on, and oftentimes what one person shares will actually inform what another person is looking for, or might not even know they have been looking for. So there's real beauty. And I was very skeptical about this. 20 years ago, I was getting my advanced degree, and I had to do a lot of student teaching. It was all online. We didn't have Zoom at that time, but I was really not looking forward to it. And it turned out I really got to know people simply by their words shared on emails. The woman in Turkey, the guy down in Brazil. I mean, it was an international kind of class. And with Zoom, that allows that connection to happen far more quickly. Barbara, I appreciate you voicing what often is noticed under the radar by other folks. And I do too. I thank you all for your candor. It's so important to add that to the pod of the group if you're able to. And if you aren't, that's fine too. You're here and you made it, and you'll take something with you for sure. So I'm going to bring up this slide. If you would like, I would be happy to send you a gift of the guided meditation. It's an MP3. So I'll send that along to you if you would like. The other thing, if you get in touch with me, I produce a e-zine, e-newsletter, maybe 4 times a year. And I'll let you know when I'm doing other workshops. Sometimes I present myself, sometimes libraries will sponsor me. I do this for a living. So if any of you have a venue you think would like to have me, please share. Let me just bring that one slide up before you all take off. Here we go. So if you want to stay in touch, email me at marlowshami@gmail.com. And I will send you this guided meditation. You'll get my quarterly email. I also have a resource list for those of you who like to read that has a list of my favorite books having to do with eco-psychology, meditation, healing, websites. It's a nice list. I try to keep it up. There's some oldies but goldies and more recent publications. And I'll send you a copy of the guided meditation. So I'm going to take this down. You got my email if you want it. And stop that share. There we go. And Katie, thank you so much for hosting. Thank you, Blackstone.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for being here. And I appreciate everybody joining in and sharing.
All right, everyone have a wonderful weekend. Good seeing you. Our paths will cross again at some point.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.